Good morning Year 3 and welcome to your first geography lesson this term. So our learning objective today is to locate Europe on a world map and to identify some features of the continent of Europe. So this map shows the world is split into large land masses called continents. And I know you learned about the continents when you were in Year 2. Maybe you can even remember the continent song that you learned. And I wonder, do you know which continent is Europe on this map? Which colour represents the continent of Europe? It's the red part. So this is the continent of Europe. Can you name any of the other continents? Have a little think to yourself now. So here we go. This map shows the 7 continents of the world. There's Europe that we just talked about, our focus for today. Then we've got North America and South America. I wonder if you can use your pearl power there and make a link to compass points. Here is the continent of Africa. We've got Asia over here, Australia here, and at the bottom, Antarctica. I want you to have a little moment now and just compare the continents. Look at the sizes of them. Look at how they're broken up. So you can see that Europe is actually quite a small continent in comparison to some of the others. You take a look at North America a bit more closely. It hasn't got very many lines on it, whereas Africa has got loads of lines on it. And those lines represent the countries that make up those continents. So Africa is made up of lots of countries, whereas North America is not made up of many countries. So in your geography packs now, I want you to find this map. It should have today's date on it, which is the 22nd of February. And all I want you to do is colour Europe, the continent of Europe in, on your world map and label it Europe. I will go back to the previous screen to help you out. So pause me now, find your map in your pack and colour in Europe. Okay, so some questions now. Where do we actually live? Well, let's have a look. So we live in Bristol, which is a city in England. And we learnt about that when we were geographers just before the half-term holiday. So we live in a city in England. And England is a country in the United Kingdom. And the United Kingdom is a country in Europe, the continent of Europe, our focus for today. And Europe is one of the continents of the world. And you know that there are 7 continents of the world. Europe is one of them. So, do you know the names of any other European countries? Any other countries in the continent of Europe? Maybe you've got family that live in Europe. Somewhere on holiday. Have a little think to yourself. Can you think of any names of countries that might be in Europe that you know of? This might help you out. This is a map of Europe. So at the beginning, we looked at a world map, which showed the continents. This is just a zoomed in version of that, where we are just focusing on the continent of Europe. And you can see how Europe is broken into lots of these different countries. I wonder if you visited any of them. Or like I said, I wonder if you've got family that live in any of these countries in Europe. Here's the United Kingdom. That's where we live. And Bristol is down here, towards the bottom of the United Kingdom in England. So I've got some information for you now. It's up to you whether you pause me and read this yourself, or you might just want to listen. So Europe is the 5th largest, or you could say the 3rd smallest, continent in the world. However, it includes the world's biggest and smallest countries. Because Russia is the largest country in the world, with an area, so a size of more than 17 million kilometres squared. That is huge. And the Vatican City is the smallest country in the world. It has an area of less than 1 kilometre squared. So the difference in size between Russia and the Vatican City is enormous, but they are both countries within Europe. And the Vatican City is actually in the country of Italy. If we flick back to our map, you can see here, there is Russia, and it is an enormous country, isn't it? Italy is down here, and the Vatican City is part of Italy. So despite being only the 5th largest continent in the world by size, Europe is the world's 3rd most populous continent. The populace is how many people live there. It's the population. And Europe has a population of around 733 million people. About 11% of all the people in the world actually live in Europe. So there's lots of people living in this continent. Russia has the most people in Europe, but part of Russia is actually in the continent of Asia. If we flip back to that map again, you can see you don't see all of Russia because part of it is in Asia, which is the continent that adjoins Europe. The country that's wholly in Europe with the most people is Germany, with around 82 million people. We'll flip back to our map. Here is Germany, and there are about 82 million people that live in this country, Germany, which is one of the countries in the continent of Europe. Now this map shows the oceans and the seas that surround Europe. I know you learnt about the oceans and seas in year 2 as well, so have a little look at the map. Which seas and oceans can you spot? They are all labelled. We've got the Arctic Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean, and then you've got lots of seas, the Black Sea, the Mediterranean Sea, which we will learn more about, the Celtic Sea, the North Sea and the Baltic Sea. So lots of oceans and seas surrounding Europe. Now some of the countries in Europe belong to what we call the European Union, and that means that the governments of each country work together to try and make Europe better. Countries have to pay to belong to the EU, but then they get some benefits. Lots of countries in the European Union use the same currency, so that's the money that we use, and that's the euro. So if you've ever been on holiday to France or Spain, you've had to change your money to use euros to be able to buy things over there. And that's so it's easier for people to travel around without having to always change their money. Here is the flag of the European Union. And I wonder if anyone knows about any recent changes with the United Kingdom and the European Union. That might be a conversation you'd like to have with your grown-ups. Now we're going to move on to use some of our knowledge now to unscramble these scrambled sentences. So, what actually makes a sentence? Well, it needs a subject and a verb, and it needs to make sense, and it needs a capital letter and a full stop, doesn't it? So at the moment, it says, the 7 is Europe of continents 1. Now that doesn't make any sense, does it? But if we try and unscramble it, I think I can make sense of it. Europe is one of the 7 continents. So I've used my knowledge to unscramble that sentence. Let's have a look at another one. World's and smallest, largest, Europe, countries includes the... Now that doesn't make any sense at the moment, but we need to use some of the facts we've just heard to make sense of it and to unscramble it. So I think I'm going to start with Europe includes the world's smallest and largest countries. We found out about Russia and the Vatican City, didn't we? So Europe includes the world's smallest and largest countries. Here's another one. I wonder if you can work this one out before me. So it's about the population. We learnt about that 11%, didn't we? We know population is about the people. Now, let me see what might come first. About 11% of all the people in the world live in Europe. That makes sense now, doesn't it? So about 11% of all the people in the world live in Europe. And it's your turn now. You've got 3 sentences there. At the moment, they don't make any sense. Your job is to use your knowledge and to unscramble those sentences. They are in your pack and there is a space for you to rewrite them. Well done for your first geography lesson. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you for some more soon.